So, we're a few days removed from one of the weirdest trades the Detroit Red Wings have made in years. We had talked about this the other day. The Red Wings made two trades. One to acquire a second-round pick, and then another to send that second-round pick and Jake Walman to the San Jose Sharks for nothing. A lot of people, myself included, were pretty shocked about this, and the comment section was filled with a lot of uncertainty and a lot of doubt. A lot of people going out there and saying, okay, I believe in Steve Yzerman, I trust the Yzer plan, but moves like this are definitely head-scratchers, and I tried to rationalize it. Y'all in the comments tried to rationalize it too. Hey, we recognize that Steve Yzerman is freeing up cap space, and in order to do that, he is trading away draft capital. And he's trading away a player that I think a lot of Red Wings fans liked for nothing. Essentially nothing. Future considerations is nothing. We'll leave it at that. And as long as Steve Yzerman is able to use that money, well, he ends up getting a big fish free agent, not just like a middle tier guy like a Cop or a Comfort, but a really big guy. Or he makes a trade for some big money player that's really worth it, and it's like Alex DeBrincat, but better, something like that. If Steve Yzerman uses this money well, then okay, we get it. That's the purpose the trade serves, and if it works, it works. But ever since then, we've had ourselves a few extra things coming out that I thought were super interesting that paint the Walman trade in a much worse light than we had initially seen. Case in point, yesterday we saw the Vancouver Canucks trade away Ilya Mikheyev and Sam Lafferty to the Chicago Blackhawks, and the sweetener in that trade was only a second-round pick as well. Not to mention the fact that Mikheyev is more of a bum than Jake Walman is, and the fact that Mikheyev is a lot more expensive than Jake Walman is. Here's a tweet from Cam Robinson that goes out there and talks about this. This Chicago and Vancouver deal only furthers the oddity of that Detroit deal earlier this week. Why did Steve Yzerman have to pay a straight-up second-round pick to rid himself of Jake Walman, who makes less money than Mikheyev, is more useful, and has both of his knees intact? We saw comments on this on the other video, but hey, Jake Walman is now, the best defenseman on San Jose. Sorry Mario Ferraro, sorry Marc-Edouard Vlasic, Kyle Burrows just got traded away today too, so he's gone. Jake Walman is the best guy there. If this is a player the San Jose Sharks really needed, and the Red Wings were so adamant on getting rid of him, how in the hell was a second-round pick the price there? Ilya Mikheyev and Sam Lafferty went for a second-round pick, same as Jake Walman. Then, it gets even crazier when you look at this article published by Sean Shapiro earlier today on SnapshotHockey.com. Now, Sean Shapiro, I'm pretty sure most of y'all are familiar with him. He does have NHL sources. He's been an insider analyst reporter for a few years now, and he ended up talking more about the Jake Walman trade on this blog post earlier this morning. I'll leave a link in the description if you want to go ahead and read this yourself, but this is what Shapiro writes. It's a puzzling deal, and it still feels like a puzzling deal. And Steve Yzerman's typical media blackout policy, I know myself and Max Boltman have both asked him about speaking on this, it hasn't really given us a better picture of what the Red Wings GM was thinking with this trade. So Sean says he has done the next best thing over the next couple of days, reaching out to people around the league and around the Sharks to understand what happened. Everyone seems to believe this is part of a bigger move for Yzerman. $3.4 million in cap space flexibility has been added. We also know that the Wings and Shane Gostisbehere are trying to work out a deal, potentially before the defender hits the UFA market on July 1st. Yzerman is also hamstrung, not having deals for Seider and Raymond, and yeah, okay, that makes sense, and while moving Walman to open up cap space as opposed to Justin Hall is puzzling, it's not malpractice in that sense, and maybe Yzerman has a big swing in the works. So he opens up this paragraph or two by talking about the making sense part of it all. Hey, you're opening up some money, you're trying to re-sign Gostisbehere, you're uncertain with Seider and Raymond, and okay, if you wanted to trade Walman away instead of Justin Hall, there's a reasonable argument to do that. Like, maybe a team doesn't want Justin Hall. Maybe it's easier to trade away Walman. He's a lot better after all. But the thing that doesn't make sense, as Sean Shapiro writes about, and is still puzzling people around the league, is why Yzerman effectively assigned negative trade value to Walman and gave up a second-round pick to move the guy. It became even more puzzling when Ilya Mikheyev was traded last night by the Canucks to the Blackhawks. Mikheyev was moved with a sweetener to Chicago, but the Canucks at least got a fourth-round pick in return. The other puzzling thing here, and this is the kicker, is that Yzerman apparently did not shop Walman around a ton. Based off of some of Sean Shapiro's conversations and reading reports from others, there were multiple teams that would have actually been interested in trading for somebody like Walman. And if the Wings were truly desperate to clear him off, they could have kept the second-round pick and simply waived Walman. The San Jose Sharks, I know for a fact, would have claimed Walman on waivers since they are first in the waiver order, like they did with Barclay Goodrow. In fact, I've heard San Jose was happily stunned when Yzerman didn't ask for a return and offered a second-round pick sweetener. Whether Walman was part of the plan or not, this was horrific asset management by Steve Yzerman. And the frustrating part to come out of this is the fact that he has been silent on the deal. He'll likely speak again after round 1 of the draft, but for now, we have seen an online witch hunt to figure out why Walman was getting traded. There's a lot more in this article, you can go out there and read it yourself, but the really juicy bit is right there. Steve Yzerman had an asset in Jake Walman that, according to other NHL GMs, was not a negatively valued asset. He was only negatively valued by Steve Yzerman and the Wings. Other teams maybe could have traded for Walman, let's just say for cheap. Hey, we got this guy, he does the gritty, he's a defenseman, he played with Sider, he does this, he does that. Do you want him? He's yours. Give us a 4th-round pick. He's a cap dump for us. We don't want him anymore. Give us a very cheap pick and we're okay with that. But instead, Yzerman was like, no, sorry, San Jose, here. You can get this guy for free if we waive him, but we'll just send him to you for free with a 2nd-round pick on top of that. Like, Yzerman is helping the San Jose Sharks in this respect. Maybe he wants things to get better for Zadina. Who really knows? But the fact that this trade was not as clear-cut as it could have been makes it a lot more difficult to fully trust what the vision is with this particular move. Steve Yzerman has already been getting a little bit of pushback, I would say, from some more dedicated members of the Red Wings fan base. Of course, people will still unanimously like the guy. He's a legend in Detroit, and he built the Tampa Bay Lightning squad that ended up winning 2 Stanley Cups. Or, he built most of it, I would say. But you have to go out there and start thinking about some of these moves. Okay, the past few years, signing these guys to the middle of the lineup, shelling out big money and big term to guys like Andrew Kopp, JT Compher, Justin Hall. Okay, there was already some pushback there, but the philosophy was, hey, the team needs to start getting competitive, they can't be bad forever, and getting middle-tier players to help out the team's performance today will help the younger guys accustom themselves to a winning environment and slowly build up a team that can make the playoffs for years to come. Okay, there's a philosophy there. There were some other trades that you could say might have been a bit questionable, but this trade, the Jake Walman trade, is looking even weirder by the day. With more information coming out, with more negatively valued assets getting traded like Ilya Mikheyev, it becomes a lot more difficult to understand why Yzerman did this Walman trade in the way that he did. If they just went Barclay Goodrow mode and waived Walman for nothing, and San Jose claimed him first off, okay, great. The same thing is accomplished. You get rid of the player, and you keep your 2nd-round pick. So if you're a Detroit Red Wings fan, let me know your thoughts in the comments section below about the whats and the whys of this trade. What are your opinions as to how things are looking now that we have some extra information? And how do you think Steve Yzerman is going to vindicate this situation? Do you think he makes a big splash for a Steven Stamkos or whatever? Does he make a play for Gensel? Does he trade for some big-name guy? If that happens, does that make this Walman trade situation more worth it, in your opinion? Would you rather have just seen them be smart and waive the guy instead, have him get claimed by San Jose, and keep that 2nd-round sweetener? Walman is not a negatively valued asset, according to what Shapiro was saying other NHL GMs felt about the guy. But in the Red Wings system, he may have been, which is very, very bizarre. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.